Good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for joining. At CIQ, we're focused on powering the next generation of software infrastructure, leveraging the capabilities of cloud, hyperscale, and HPC. From research to the enterprise, our customers rely on us for the ultimate Rocky Linux, Werewolf, and Apptainer support escalation. We provide deep development capabilities and solutions, all delivered in the collaborative spirit of open source.
Yahoo! Woohoo!
Hey.
What's up? Hey, everybody. We are live. This is Rose Stein and Greg Soul with CIQ. We are so happy to be here on the YouTube channel, or maybe you're watching on LinkedIn, wherever you're at. Hello. Give us a like and a subscribe. We appreciate it. And then also there's like a little you can notify whenever we go live with cool stuff. And today is definitely cool. Well, first of all, because you're cool, Greg.
100%. And I love that you've gone full influencer. Smash that subscribe button.
Smash it. Need some now I need in the background, maybe you guys could do a little bing ching do do do.
No, I think that was perfect. We just leave that in and we go with that. Wasn't awkward at all, Rose. I dig it.
Thank you. That is my specialty, not awkward.
Most likely not to be awkward, right?
Most likely not to be awkward. That's right. Okay, so oh dang, Jimmy joined the party. What's up, man?
Not much. We'll see if my internet stays up.
Internet seems okay. Audio seems a little funky. It looks like you're in a corner, but then also at a train station, it sounds like.
No, he's in a laundromat.
Well, that's exactly where I am.
In a laundromat. Or maybe he's in like one of those basement clusters, right? Like he's got a server room like right in front of him.
Nah, Jimmy doesn't know anything about IT stuff.
That's awesome. All right, so to the point, these are our amazing people, both of you. You guys are the people to go to for this topic. Today we're going to be talking about automation. And specifically a couple of products that we have, one called Ascender and one called Ledger Pro. But if you don't mind, Greg, can you kind of backtrack for a second and tell me at what point does a system admin say to himself, I think I can automate this?
I think you need to be a little bit more inclusive, Rose. System person. Anybody under the sun that might be out there doing any IT automation. Let's be more inclusive, bud. I think pretty quickly, and I think Jimmy would agree with this. Anybody who gets an IT job, pretty quickly, you're going to say, man, I wish there was an easier way to do this, because it is always, I don't know, it's just like a dump truck backs up every day and dumps a new load of things on you. And then there's some stuff on fire over there and over here. And all the while you've got to get your regular workload done, right? So it's like, how do you survive all this mess? And like Jimmy and I have been talking to a lot of different customers for a really long time, get dumped into all kinds of environments. And I've noticed they'll get new toys, they'll get new software, but they never seem to get new personnel, right? There'll be mergers and acquisitions. You get dumped on with 10,000 additional systems and you don't get any extra help. So you got to figure out how to keep your hands around that stuff. And I think IT automation is the way. What would you say, Jimmy?
Yeah. When I go back and look at my career, so I've been doing this for 24 years now. I started automating from the beginning. It was mostly because I saw something and I'm like, man, I don't want to do this again over and over and over again. So, I mean, all the way back from writing, PowerShell scripts back in the day, Puppet, Salts, pretty much the whole stack all the way up. It was just because, hey, my job is not to sit here and actually create these users over and over again. My job is fixing all the fires. That's what they pay me for. This is easy stuff. I can automate this away, and I can work on the stuff, the future projects and everything else that are really what I'm there for.
100%. I used to lead teams of engineers, and I remember one of them was talking to me. He was kind of hinting around, a raise and wanting to get paid more. And I don't know, part of the conversation was we don't get paid for the day-to-day, like the normal stuff. We get paid when everything's on fire and everybody's panicking, but we keep our heads and we get it done, right? So that's the part where, I think genuinely you earn your keep when something goes awry, and you can still keep the lights on and also fix that stuff as well. But I know we threw out Ascender and Ledger, and I know one of the purposes of this is if somebody is unfamiliar with any of those, how do we kind of introduce them into the concept? And I think if you've been in IT for any amount of time at this point, you've heard of Ansible, right? You've heard of at least automation, but you've probably heard of Ansible. And essentially, our products are utilizing Ansible, right? That's the engine that's under the hood that we're actually using to run all this stuff. Jimmy, you've been using Ansible for almost about a decade at this point?
7 years.
7. Okay. I've been down in it for about 4 and some change. I think Jimmy got to my level within about 2 months. So he's definitely more versed in all this stuff and forever will be. And I will, like I say, I will forever ride his coattails and have no problems with that. But Ansible to me was really unique coming in because I came in as a network engineer for a really long time, which means my brain is probably, I think I stalled out at about 5th grade level. So that's kind of, no, I like that. I self-deprecating. Network engineers are very intelligent people. I kid. But generally you don't think about us doing like IT automation, right? We're not like server guys and they're banging around, although I've worn a lot of hats. And I think in IT nowadays, you kind of have to be able to do everything. So even though Jimmy is like a hardcore systems guy, programmer, the guy's actually built and ran networks. I know we're digressing here, but the idea being Ansible is easy enough for even network engineers to start transitioning into. Does that mean that they can just immediately pick up and go? No, there's a little bit of a learning curve, but comparing that to all the other automation things I've either written myself or tried out there, stuff from vendors, Ansible was actually the easiest one for me to get up and moving with. And I think subsequently, it's also the easiest one for me to help enable other people, right? So you have no automation in your environment. You need to help kind of bring it in there. One, I think, what's the quickest way we can see some ROI, like return on investment? How quick can I actually see some fruits of my labor? And to me, Ansible is going to be one of those easy ones because not only can I learn it myself pretty quickly, say maybe as a systems engineer, but I'm also going to be able to start spreading that within the company to other areas like the security folks. But honestly, the security folks are probably already doing some Python, maybe a little bit Ansible. A lot of times on the systems, we see some command line Ansible stuff, and network engineers are usually just banging away at the command line. And so it's an easy way for you to kind of transition them, bring them into the fold, bring them into the family. And I think Ascender actually makes that whole process even easier. How would you categorize it, Jimmy?
So, I mean, Ansible, you have to learn the underlying Ansible itself before you jump into Ascender. But Ascender just takes some of the work out of it, and the fact that I can just, okay, I just put everything in the Git project and pull everything in and run it from there instead of doing stuff like command line, instead of using the Ansible Navigator and figuring out execution environments on the command line. It's already all there in Ascender. But learning Ascender itself, or even learning Ansible, is not a hard process. Again, we teach classes for this. I've taken even people at the director level and taken them through a workshop, and within a day, he's sitting here writing Ansible playbooks. And he told me, hey, if I can actually do this, my guys can do it. When I first started in Ansible back in the day, I had a lab that, my personal lab has about 100 VMs in it. Everything was running via Puppet. Within 2 days, I had converted everything in that lab over to Ansible and took Puppet out. And that was how it was so much easier, so much faster. I mean, it's not difficult to pick up. The concepts of it are easy because Ansible itself does most of the work for you.
Yeah. Jimmy's a bit of a wizard. I'd throw the Harry Potter gif in there. You're a wizard, Harry, pretty frequent with Jimmy. So he may be something of a freak of nature. You may not be able to transition your entire infrastructure in 2 days, but it does illustrate how quick you can go from like 0 to 60. And I think, Jimmy, most of our time, or at least most of my time in the last like 4 years has actually been like enabling and teaching. And so, like you said, doing workshops, I think are very valuable. So that's something where we literally take somebody who's never done any IT automation, and within the span of about 5 hours, they actually are writing playbooks, and which is like the automation scripts that Ansible consumes and ultimately Ascender consumes. So they're writing those, they're running them kind of in an enterprise environment, enterprise fashion, right? Something that they can actually adopt in their environment. And something else we do that, to me, I feel like has been the most beneficial for all the people we've walked into. So, I mean, we've we've worked with a lot of different Fortune 500 companies, but then we've also worked with some smaller shops. And I think kind of top to bottom, the hackathons have been the most useful because we walk in the door, we actually are automating your use cases in your environment and kind of get your team together, get them collaborating and moving all that stuff. So like when I think that's maybe an overlooked portion of adopting automation whenever, because a lot of times we're talking to the boots on the ground, right? We're talking to engineers that are used to this stuff, doing like kind of IT stuff, maybe programmers, maybe not. And so thinking about like kind of a culture shift or adopting a whole environment, I think can be a little bit daunting. Like most people don't think about, hey, I have to actually sell it all the way up the infrastructure, right? The managers all the way up to the kind of the CTO level need to buy in, and then we can kind of start spreading out. Like how do you see that being most effective, Jimmy?
Well, the biggest thing is finding your in where you can actually say, okay, well, this is something we need to automate. This is something that's a problem with us that, we spend a lot of money doing this over and over again. And once you find that little piece that you can automate, then that frees up so much time to then automate other stuff and other stuff. So I've talked to a customer before where we went in there and they had this certain task that they had a team of people. It was about 10 people that worked on this for about 6 months, and they had to automate it every single year and go through and build these reports and do all these changes over here. And it would take them about 6 months to do it. And they found out at the end that, hey, once we automate this away, that's 10 people for 6 months that they can now work on something else and start doing other stuff. And then once they had that automated, they automate more and more and more. And you get to the point to where, you're able to start working on those big projects and everything that, you couldn't before. You could get to work on the new shiny stuff.
Yeah, I think it's a great point because that has been most of the inroads. They'll have most of the customers I talked to that did little to no automation. When we got in, there was something that was essentially on fire that they had to take care of. A lot of it I've seen has been compliance based. So say they're in the petroleum industry and they have to be able to manage like this huge fleet of, say, for example, network infrastructure that the vendors don't support anymore, right, on their existing tools. That's the interesting thing about a lot of vendors that put out automation tools is that it will work with only their equipment, and even inside of their equipment, it's a small subset, and then they deprecate support for older hardware, which is not surprising, right? Why would a hardware vendor want you to have to buy new hardware? It makes sense, right? But you've got all this equipment that still has a ton of life in there. You still have to manage it. You still have to show to your auditors that you're taking care of this, that you've maintained all of this stuff. And automation can be a really easy way of doing that. But just regular command line Ansible doesn't usually fit the bill for a lot of auditors. They want to be able to see like controls put in place, enforcement. And I think Ascender really steps up and puts all that in there in kind of an easy to digest way.
Yeah, you get all the logging from there, and you have all that kind of compliance where I can go in there and see what happens. The biggest problem with Ascender is that, yes, all the data is there, but it is not easy to find it within there. And that's kind of where we came out with Ledger Pro. Ledger Pro is basically a logging system for Ascender, where all of the logs, everything that's happening inside Ascender comes over to Ledger, and then we parse it out and pull out all the important data out of there so you can see it, see what's going on, go back, search it, build reports off it, set up alerts off it, all the important stuff you really want to do with the data that's in there.
Yeah, which I think is awesome, right? So you're writing your playbooks, you're writing your automation. Ascender's actually executing all of that in a very secure enterprise fashion, right? We've got all these auditing controls. But like you're saying, every bit of automation we're running creates logs, and we can ship those logs off to our Ledger Pro product, which consumes all that and makes it so easy to actually interface with. And it's not just for like reporting and compliance. I'm writing a workshop right now so that we can have people do hands-on learning with it. And all of our use cases, while compliance is a really easy one, I'm using it for troubleshooting. So it's taking all this like just really rich information that we're collecting via automation, and now you can start using it for troubleshooting tasks. I mean, yes, you can create compliance reports to keep off your, the security folks off your back or your auditors or whatever. But also, I can now, I can hop in here and instantly have access to all this data, so I can troubleshoot. I'm looking at like DNS server migrations. That's one that I think people go through every so often. So I can look at all of my systems in a snap and determine which ones haven't been migrated, which ones are halfway, where are we at, so I can create reports really quick on that. If somebody was supposed to move something off, I can quickly go in there and just do a rapid search. I've got all that information available, but it goes beyond just that. I think you touched on maybe some of the errata data, which I think is a really killer feature there.
Yeah, so basically, within here, we're getting all the data from your system. So all the facts that are coming in from your system, all the packages that are on your system, all the services that are in the system, we have all this data. So being able to look at it in different unique ways is kind of what we're going for. So the fact that we have all your packages on there, and over on Rocky Linux, we have all the errata data, we can actually pull that in and say, okay, well, let me look at all your packages and see, which ones have CVEs that need fixed. Let me go through and actually just even view a list of this is all the CVEs on every system across my entire org, be able to search that, go down, find out, okay, well, my security auditor came back and said we need to fix the CVE, so I can go into CVE view, search for that CVE, find it, click it, it shows me every package I need to update and on what systems I need to update that on. So very handy, very quickly just getting this data back. And what's even better is you can even give access to auditors to say, here, I'll give you access to look in here. I don't have to build a report for you. Why don't you just go look at it yourself? It's there for you. But not only that, but even changes. You're recording every single change that happens across every single system. So troubleshooting wise, if I have a system that's acting up, I can now go back and search and say, hey, show me this system, show me every change that's happened on this system. And I know something's going up with DNS on this. So show me every change that's happened to resolve.conf through automation. And it's all right there with diffs showing what's actually happened to it. And
Yeah,
even
absolutely.
down to the time frame that, I know it happened between this date and this date, show me all that. And it's all there. It makes troubleshooting so much easier because, it's all recorded.
Yeah, I dig it because coming from the network engineering world, change control was such a structured part of what we do. And I've noticed in operations, like people taking care of systems, seems oftentimes to be a little bit more loosey-goosey. So this kind of sort of brings that rigidity of change control that I'm accustomed to in the network world over to more kind of on the operation side. And I know a lot of people have some rigid change control procedures in their environment, and this now gives them a conduit to kind of verify some of that, right? To be able to through also kind of like baselining, right? So in their system package wise and stuff, we integrated the ability to actually baseline. So I can say, hey, this is what I expect to see. Show me anything that is above and beyond that, which to me, the idea that I can just at a glance see that is just crazy. It's almost mind blowing to me that one, it didn't exist before, but now you've made it so simple.
Yeah, you basically can go into a system and look and say, okay, well, I know this is a Rocky 9 box. I know based upon my baseline images, I have X number of packages on here. It's basically showing me all the additional package that I have beyond that. So I know, hey, this is the packages I'm supposed to have. This is the packages that are extra. I can see that someone installed Telnet on there. They have open VMware tools on there. They may have something else on there that's not necessary. And I can go through, but also if I have to rebuild that box, I know exactly how it looked. I know that every version of every package that was on that box and everything I need to install beyond the baseline, and even system services, all of that same thing's on there. All the services and how they differ from the baseline images is all right there for you to play with.
Yeah. I know not much excites me in IT anymore, but this genuinely excites me because so many people have been asking for this functionality for so long. And the fact that anybody who's familiar with Ansible, that whenever you want to make a change or you want to make an adjustment, you actually have to write a playbook that does all of these things, right? And it's great. It's got these idempotent features. All of that's available to you. But what people maybe don't realize about Ledger Pro is you literally have to do nothing. All this functionality we're talking about, it's just pulling the logs that are coming from your automation, right? From Ascender, and it's parsing all that. So you don't have to build any of this. It's there, it's available, and you can start using it, start taking advantage of it like almost immediately.
Oh, and even if you have servers that are using command line Ansible, I've even written a callback plugin for it that logs all the data to Ledger for you. So
of course
you can still run those command line playbooks and have all it logging for compliance back over here, so then you can see everything.
Wait, so let me understand this. Does that mean that you can use Ledger just with your Ansible playbooks, or do you have to have a platform in between?
Nope, you can use it just with playbooks too. All you need is that little callback plugin, drop it in your playbooks directory in a folder, boom, it'll pick it up and it goes.
That's killer. But
Yeah,
I mean,
it ties into some, that ties into some other stuff we can't talk about right now.
Yeah, not quite yet. But
Future features.
Yeah, so far we've been talking about how it's Ascender logs that pull out, but ultimately Ascender is built from AWX, right? So any AWX or AWX derivative, whether it's Ascender or AAP or any other flavor, it's going to be able to generate those logs and ship off to Ledger Pro. So if you've got any of those things in your environment, you don't want to use Ascender, that's fine. If you still want to take advantage of Ledger Pro, we can help you stand up Ledger Pro in your environment and you can start taking advantage of all this stuff. But I know somebody asked a question about the AWX release cycle. And I know they've recently changed, there you are. They've recently changed how Ascender, or rather AWX, is being developed. And that kind of dovetails in nicely with one of the main features we do. And that's kind of version locking on Ascender. I was wondering if you might talking about that a little bit, Jimmy.
Yeah. So we're moving to more stable releases. So again, we were following AWS releases, nightly. Whenever a new version came out, we came out with our version. But the problem with that is there's just so much development going upstream and so many of us breaking changes. And because of that, we're moving to more stable. We're locking into stable releases and bringing in fixes as needed, bringing in CVE fixes as needed, and then just bringing that stability back to what was there before. Because right now, AWX is in big turmoil with all the changes they're doing for the RBAC stuff behind the scenes, moving to the new UI, breaking up into new components, all of these different things that are going on. And we're just avoiding all that and just locking on the stable releases and just making sure the product works.
Yeah, I was talking to a customer, and they were currently using AWX. They were evaluating Ascender and things like that. And they said due to the changes in AWX, they were having to create yet another dev environment solely for AWX just so that they could try and do the upgrade. And Ascender makes the upgrade process simple. But they were going to try and do the AWX upgrade and then also have to run as many tests as they possibly could to make sure that that multiple release a day or nightly release or whatever it happened to be didn't actually break their infrastructure. So they were having to dedicate time, energy, people just to figure out, is this actually going to work in our environment? Is this going to break something? Can we actually move to that? And they were incredibly relieved to find out that Ascender is taking care of all that for them. So that's just a huge chunk of time that they just got back in their lives, which I think is awesome.
So what if they're doing a nightly thing and there's a lot of commotion going on? What do you mean by stable, Jimmy? Is that once a month? Is that once quarterly? What are you imagining this, or what is it?
So we're doing it as a as needed basis, basically bringing in fixes to what's currently there as needed, bringing in CVE fixes as needed. When we find issues with what's currently there, fixing it, and if necessary, pushing it upstream if that code even still exists, and basically doing that way. So instead of locking on to what's up there, because right now they're going to be in turmoil for a good long time, we're just locking into a stable release and bringing in the fixes.
Cool. Thank you for that.
Yeah, sure.
Do we have another question just here?
No, I think we ended up answering that one through our random ramblings.
I like the wording though, so I'm going to read it out loud. It says, "Will it pull and format compliance reports or templates?" And that is a yes. And then there's an addition. It says that sounds incredibly useful.
Yeah.
There's
The cool
some
thing
more
about
work
the
we're doing
report.
on that.
Yeah, go ahead, Jimmy.
I was gonna say there are reports that we'll build at this point, but we are building onto those current reports to expand it even more to where you can pull data from multiple different types of data sources. Pulling data from the facts, from the packages, from the Errata data, and putting them all just kind of in one report using a template-like system.
Yeah. Something else, some of the other functionality that got baked in, which I find extremely useful, is the ability to take your reports, right? That generate all of my information that I need, and I can schedule that to run on whatever interval I want. So I don't actually have to go into the system and click it. So say the security team needs a monthly audit report on some X system or whatever happens to be. I can have it just generate that and ship it off to them, and I don't have to think about it.
If they want to know the kernel versions of every system currently running, reports right there. That's actually one of the baked in reports we have.
Yeah.
One of the other neat features we're starting to do is a alerting system. So we're getting all this different data, and sometimes the data is important enough that you want to know about it immediately. You don't want to build reports on it. You want to know, hey, this actually happened. I need to know about this. So one of the things that I baked in was alerting off of the different types of data as it receives it in real time. So for instance, all the package data. We gather facts on the packages. As the package data is coming in, you can build an alert off it. So I can have a list of packages that are not supposed to be installed on any system. If someone manually goes in there and installs the telnet package, I want to know about it. So as that package data comes in, it sees that, hey, I have this actually filter set up for the telnet filter or telnet package. It matches that to what currently came in, and then I have what's called service providers. And that's where you can basically take this data, send it back off to a sender, or take it off to the other product we're building, Sender React, which is based upon upstream EDA, and basically alert off of this and send alerts immediately, or send out an email or whatever you may want to do with it, and have it act upon it now. So basically on my Telnet example, I have a playbook that runs, it scans all my systems nightly, pulls in all the fact data, all the package data, and within there, I have that alert set for Telnet. With Telnet itself, it basically sees that it's installed, kicks off the alert for it, calls over to my provider, which is Sender React, which is EDA, the event-driven automation. Event-driven automation is listed on the webhook for that, sees that it's actually, hey, I got this. The package name is Telnet. It calls back into a sender, kicks off a playbook, which then uninstalls Telnet. And that all happens before the first playbook's even finished running. So it's basically within like 4 seconds. It is so fast. But you have other things in there. So say like I run hardening on all my servers. Nightly, I have a hardening that's run in check mode just to recheck my servers, just to say, hey, I want to make sure everything's there. But the thing is I want to be notified when things change on that. But one of the important things I want to be notified on, if someone goes into my SSH and sets root to allow to SSH in, so I have set up alert in there that says, hey, if this task in here in this playbook runs when it's running in check mode, and I don't want to alert if not running in check mode because that's when I'm actually setting it back. But if it's running in check mode and this task actually said it made a change, I want you to fire off an email to me immediately so that I know it happened and I can go and get it fixed, figure out who did what.
Go figure out who did what. You can see, I see it was you, sir.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot of that is you're not necessarily worried about people inside your company doing it. It's people outside, right?
Yeah.
That actually brings up an interesting question. You know what? First, we have a question. So, Jess, why don't you put this one up? Yeah. So, hey, Steven, thanks for being here. What's the long-term vision for Ascender, and how do AI and automation align with that vision?
Everybody's trying to shoehorn AI into everything, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about, instead of like the long term, like how AI would tie into Ascender, let's just talk about AI in automation, because I know you and I are both big proponents of it at this point. I think in the last like 4 months or so, we've really started utilizing it a lot. And me in particular, before I was using ChatGPT to do like some playbook writing and things like that, but I have transitioned over to I'm a convert, knocking on people's door, telling them about GitHub Copilot and the integration into VS Code. I know writing playbooks, it essentially, as I'm typing, it will start automatically suggesting what it thinks I want based on what I have done so far. It'll even look at the other open files and it'll realize the variable names I was using there, and it starts integrating it between files. It's pretty amazing. I've had it write out entire playbooks just by the description, and it's accurate. It's not always perfect, but man, does it get you there quick. I think it's cut down my
Really
development
fast.
time probably to 25% of what it used to be. I'm not sure. I mean, Jimmy's already pretty fast. I'm just curious how much quicker it's made you.
You won me over when you showed it to me. I mean, I'm old school. I used to write everything in VI. So every playbook I was writing was a VI, or if I'm on a different system, it was in, if I was on a Windows system, it's in Notepad. I didn't like IDEs, but when I started using Copilot, yeah, I swapped over to VS Code, and I haven't gone back at this point. It's just so much faster.
Yeah. And you can even say stuff like you can hit Control I and say, hey, can you make this playbook more efficient? And it'll just, it'll go in there. I mean, it obviously doesn't automatically do it. It'll do it and say, hey, do you want to apply this? So it's not just going to wholesale do all of it for you, but it will give you the ability to say, yeah, that looks good. Or you could say, like before when I'm writing playbooks, I could say, hey, make all of these modules fully qualified collection names. And then boom, it just goes back and does it all for you. It's so convenient, so stinking fast too.
Yeah, it will still hallucinate sometimes, but it's getting a lot better.
Yeah, 100%. Especially, I mean, imagine an AI system that's completely trained off of GitHub. Like how much public resources that just exist out there that it can consume. And I mean, obviously, if it's using my playbooks to help build stuff off of, it's probably going to make the data a little worse. But there's a lot to pull from, so it's pretty awesome.
If it spits out massive Jenga blocks, and it was using my playbooks to train.
is that what it was?
And I really like it. About it is so cheap. The fact that it's so cheap. I'm an open source developer, so I'm on multiple different open source projects, and because of that, I get it for free.
Yeah, I'm paying for it, and it's $10 a month. $10 a month to give you 75% of your time back. It's like, I think it's worth it.
So, Greg, you had mentioned a Ledger Pro webinar class. What is this?
Oh, workshop. Workshop. Yeah. We've got the outline. We're writing the show workshop right now. So that's what we try and do with most of our products, especially the stuff surrounding automation. It's one thing to talk about it, and Jimmy and I don't generally like to just be talking heads. We like to be actually like showing you something, teaching you something. I want there to be some kind of value associated with it. And I don't know about for you, Rose, but for me, the best way for something to just really stick into my caveman brain is to do it, right? Hands-on. And so we like to create these workshops where we spin up individualized environments for all of our participants, and we will hit you with some slide decks. We obviously have to hit you with slide decks. It's it's part of the code. So we'll do that. They'll kick us out of the guild otherwise. But that's all I can learn otherwise. Yeah, we're not allowed to talk about it much more than that. But we'll do that. So we actually teach you a human with a voice. You get to see it. People learn in different ways. And then you, in your real lab environment, you start going through hands-on. You're turning knobs. You're either writing playbooks, or in the case of Ledger Pro, we are walking through all the various pieces, and then also giving you real-world scenarios with dummy data that's in there, so you can actually start turning knobs and seeing how it works and get a feel for it. And then we're probably going to even have some reactive automation baked in as well, which should be pretty cool too.
That is cool. So my assumption is that right now we're just kind of teasing the workshop, and we don't have any hard dates or any links or anything like that yet, right?
Nah, not yet. I'll probably have most of the content done in a couple of weeks, and then it'll take a week for Jimmy to fix all of my errors, and then we'll be pretty ready to go.
At least. That's just your spelling errors.
I tell you what, if you ask Jimmy to write something like that, it would take him a year. If you say, hey, this is perfect, take a look at it, he'll fix all your mistakes in 5 minutes. He'll find them quick.
I like that. And tell him it's perfect. And he will, there's an automatic thing that goes, BS, calling you BS on that. I will find the mistake.
Let me show you all the ways you are incorrect.
That's the easiest way. You tell me something's impossible, and that's when it gets done.
Oh, yeah. He'll have it done almost before you're done talking.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so if you definitely want to be on the list to be reminded of that, just go to info@ciq.com, send us a little email, go to our website. Anything that you fill out on the website comes to us. So we'll be able to make sure that you're on that list to get the link for the webinar. And of course, we're going to be shouting it from the rooftops for the next few weeks because it is very exciting. I mean, what this person said earlier, sorry, I don't know who that was or know your name. It says, that sounds incredibly useful. That is exactly. So, if Greg Soul is excited and Jimmy is talking, it is amazing. So I don't know. Do you guys have any other final thoughts or any wrap up that you want to say about, the foundation of Ansible, our offer of Ascender, where you can kind of manage all of your Ansible playbooks, and then Ledger Pro that kind of is able to gather all of that information and give you the reports that you need, that you want, make things easy. Anything more we need to say?
I'll give just a little bit of closing because you left me space and I love the sound of my voice. So here it goes. You see that we are fired up about automation. We absolutely love doing this stuff. I love teaching people. I love helping. I love watching you grow and do amazing things. And so I would love for you to reach out to us so that we can help you in your environment. We are here to do as much or as little as you want. Most of the time, what we try and do is just get the plane off the runway and then you get to take it from there, right? So we just want to help you kind of get your automation practice up and moving and get you started off on the best foot, right? Because I've noticed in automation, if you go the wrong route, you're going to end up developing a lot of technical debt, and it just takes a lot of time to dig yourself out, right? So let's set you up for success, right? Let us come in, let us help you out, just get you moving. Ascender is a solid product. You're not going to have to worry about it. We have good support backing it up. As a customer of ours, we love doing workshops and hackathons with you where we'll actually come in your environment, real world, hands-on, and we'll get you and your folks moving really fast. Ledger Pro is amazing. I really can't wait for people to see it. I know we've already done a few teaser demos here and there, but I think it's really gonna be changing lives out there. So we're saving the world, Jimmy, you and I. Let's do it. But yeah, definitely reach out to us. Don't be a stranger. We love working with people and helping people. That's gonna be the last little bit I'll say, and I'll shut up.
You give the thumbs up, Jimmy.
How am I supposed to follow that?
What he said.
You're supposed to tell me, Jimmy, that was perfect. Absolutely, I couldn't have said anything wrong with that. Any corrections?
You got a little lisp at the end.
Oh man. So to answer Stephen Moody's question, what is the vision for Ascender? I mean, you said it, Greg. What did you say? Save the world? Change the world?
I don't know. I just know automation made my life so much better. I was in a pretty high stress position, and I missed a lot of holidays. I missed some birthing classes for my kid, actually trying to keep things on the rail. I had problems having vacations, and this kind of stuff legitimately, no hyperbole, it helped me get my life back. So I'm a big proponent of it, and I think about how good it was for me. This is a no-brainer. I just get to help people, right? So I'm a big proponent of automation.
Yeah. I had a job previously. It was a small little startup I was working in, and literally everybody in IT except for me quit. So it was me sitting there holding the ball, and without automation, we could not have gone on. I had to automate so many different things across, the whole spectrum, Linux, Windows, and networking, just to get everything, to ship right and just going in the right direction and stay that direction. Without that, yeah, it's life changing in some instances.
Cool. Awesome. And we love hearing from people out in the real world. So holler at us. It gets lonely here, especially when all I have to talk to is Jimmy. My goodness. He's just constantly correcting me.
Yes. Well, it is. It's very exciting to have something that we're all so excited about, and having you guys in the background, building this out. And we're also very receptive to our customers. Responsive, I think is a better word. Where when people say, "Hey, can it do this? Can it do that? How can you help me in this way and that way?" We want to hear those things because, I mean, obviously, you can have in your own mind what is great for somebody, but it's only when you start like jumping into the conversations that you're having with customers that things begin to continue to expand. So we want to hear from you. All right,
we
you
want to
guys.
hear what features you'd like to see, because every single feature that's in Ledger Pro right now came from a customer ask. We're listening to customers, and that's where we're deciding what's going in there. Every single thing within there is not something I just came up with. So this is what customers wanted.
Exactly. Well done. Well said. All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for being here, both of you. You are amazing. And everybody out there watching, interested in automation, even if you don't really know what you're doing, right? So like the prerequisites to having a conversation with us about Ascender or Ledger Pro is curiosity, interest, maybe a little desire, right? To have things be simpler. So we want to hear from you, and thank you so much, guys. You have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
Rose. Thank you, Jimmy.